That moment you discover you're anxiously attached is a real gut punch. At least it was for me. I think the most important lesson I took away as I began learning about attachment styles was that I was not alone in this. That need for validation and affirmation from every little thing, the difficulty trusting someone with your deepest feelings, but desperately wanting them to find you in that space, that's all real. And you don't even realize you're suffering in silence because you don't know any better. You've never been taught that it could be any different. But here's the weird part. As I learned about how anxious attachment happens, I also became supremely pissed off. I felt like I was cheated out of an early childhood that taught me that relationships can be safe. When I learned more about the job of a parent raising a confident, secure child and held that up against my own lived experience, I got pretty mad and resentful. Except I loved my parents. Hell, I idealized my parents, probably for far too long. Sometimes I think my anxiousness about relationships kept me from questioning my parents in my teens at a time when it's natural to do so. So later, as an adult, part of the struggle was reconciling those experiences that undermine my sense of security in relationships with keeping my imperfect parents on that pedestal. Now, I joke that my job as a therapist is to teach people to be pissed off at their parents. But the truth is, I'm not a big fan of the blame your parents for what's wrong with you approach. Sure, parenting matters, but so does resiliency. Too many people come from difficult childhoods and thrive as adults. Some of us, honestly, like me, had to get there a little more gradually. But it is confusing, and nobody sticks the landing coming down off a pedestal. Simultaneously recognizing the failures of people you love and processing the grief over the childhood that never was. That's a lot to carry. So before we go further, I want to name something very important. Attachment style is not a diagnosis or a character flaw. It's a description of how you learn to feel safe, or you tried to, through your behavior and relationships. That distinction matters because if you've spent any time reading about anxious attachment, you know it's easy to come away feeling like something is fundamentally broken in you. But you're not broken. You're actually strong because you adapted. You developed a set of behaviors that made sense given what you were taught or not taught about whether relationships could be trusted. But adaptation doesn't happen in a vacuum. So these learned behaviors can undermine your adult relationships. And once you understand that, everything changes. Not quickly or easily, but the path forward stops being about fixing what's wrong with you and starts being about learning what you never learned. Of course, anxious attachment shows up differently for each of us, but I wonder if some of my past experiences may feel familiar to you. To begin with, I considered myself very much the fixer in my relationships. I don't mean fixing the relationship, I mean fixing anything that troubled my partner. If they were upset about something, it was my job to make them feel better. If they couldn't accomplish something, it was my job to get them there. If they had conflict with others, it was not only my job to take their side no matter what, but also to insert myself into the situation to fight their battles for them. It makes me cringe to think about my behavior in retrospect. But this all grew out of my fundamental misunderstanding of boundaries. I didn't understand that solving my partner's problems actually undermined their agency. And this is the opposite of empathy. The idea of just being present and saying, that sounds difficult. What else do you want me to know? Without fixing their problems, that was never on the table. The way love was earned was to make myself as indispensable as possible in their life. But those blurry boundaries and tendency to fix were just the start because the security in the relationship was based on something earned instead of something that existed in the energy between two people. Disagreements were anything but authentic. With anxious attachment, even the smallest arguments can carry the threat of devastating outcomes. That's because if love is earned, and I'm failing to earn your love or manipulate you into needing me, the logical outcome is that I become unlovable in that moment. For the anxiously attached, disagreement is not about ideas, it's about self worth. So while an anxiously attached person can easily become dysregulated in conflict, it comes from a deep fear of rejection, not a desire to inflame the situation. With so much at stake, disagreements aren't about resolving differences. They are about avoiding at all costs the destruction of the relationship, and by extension, the destruction of the self. With all this on the table, but usually riding beneath the surface in the subconscious, engaging a legitimate disagreement with authenticity, it's not possible. Agreeing to disagree is intolerable because it leaves too much to chance. And because fear of rejection and fear of being single are both so strong when you're anxiously attached, you don't stand up for yourself when you know you should. You stay, resentment building for far too long. You stay until you simply can't anymore because the relationship finally became more frightening than the alternative. Growing old lonely and dying alone are terrifying ideas, but they become preferable to the pain of emotional anonymity. So when you finally leave, there's a lot of emotional rubble to sift through and a lot of anger to work through, or at least there was for me. Now, men do anger pretty well, but we often struggle to make sense of us, and I was no exception. After a breakup, it's always easier to blame your former partner for everything that went wrong. But just like with parents, I'm not a big fan of blaming others for my choices. The truth is, I chose to stay in that marriage for 15 years. Nobody forced me. But sifting through that rubble, I found it took work to get clear about my partner's mistakes and my inability to show up to our disagreements with authenticity and clear boundaries. And I was just then beginning to understand my childhood experiences in new ways. So it's not unusual to be angry at your partner for not showing up for you in the ways that you needed, angry at your parents for not teaching you how to choose and sustain healthy relationships, and you're angry at yourself for not seeing it earlier in life. It's a lot of anger. Sometimes I think the task is not to get clear on the object of your resentment, but to understand people do the best they know how in the moment. Your parents, your partner, and you all probably did your very best. You learned and got clear on some things and moved forward. I didn't resolve all of that anger sitting in the rubble of my marriage. Some of it I carried with me. And it showed up in ways that honestly I wasn't proud of in the relationships I tried to build afterward and the choices I made when I probably should have just stood still for a while. But staying single doesn't work very well for an anxiously attached person. Leaving my marriage didn't fix my anxious attachment. If anything, it poured salt on a newly open wound. It was always there, but now instead of riding beneath the surface of my unconscious, it was front and center. And so all those feelings were incredibly raw. I was blessed with some incredible friends who really showed up for me at this time. I wish I'd listened to them as they tried to sell me on the idea of slowing down. But fear of being single is a real thing with anxiously attached people, and that was definitely driving the bus for me. If you've ever known someone to leave a long term marriage and hop immediately into the dating pool, you know how that worked out for me. Not very well. In reality, I wasn't able to show up for those new opportunities, fully able to be a good partner. While I thought I had made major strides by recognizing my anxious attachment, I lacked the perspective to see that recognition is not healing, and I still had a lot of work to do. So I stayed too long and dove back in too early. I don't think my story is unique in that way. I met some terrific people in that chapter in my life, and I let others in who just didn't deserve to be there. This was all because I still hadn't done the work on boundaries and self sufficiency. So there was chaos for quite a while. Those friends I mentioned drifted away, and I think the instability of my life made me hard to be friends with. I was hard to be around. There was always a new crisis, and I was always in the middle of it. So if I had something to do over again, I would have waited much longer to start seeing new people. I would have found a good therapist much sooner to help me build a foundation in myself so I could learn to choose others who were right for me and show up for them. Over time, I did the work. Would it have been much more efficient just to stay single for a while? Maybe, probably. But all our experiences make us who we are today. And if we're fortunate, chaos can teach us a lot if we learn how to stop choosing that chaos. Lots of time, lots of work, lots of therapy, journaling, and personal development. This all helped me settle down and take some time for myself. When I did that, the right person eventually came into my orbit. I was able to choose someone who could meet me in the middle, and I could show up for them in authentic and productive ways. Now, if I hadn't found this person and I was still single, I think I'd still be okay. Maybe that was the biggest shift. When it became tolerable to be single, it empowered me to show up for relationships without this overwhelming fear of rejection. I no longer had to solve their problems because I understood this wasn't how to build a strong connection. I began to feel in my bones that love is not earned, so I stopped trying to earn it and just let it happen organically. You see, that's the difference. It's not about learning these concepts in your mind. That's the easy part. It's about feeling that security in your body. That's a much bigger hill to climb. I won't lie, old habits die hard, and I work on this every single day. It's probably a lifelong journey, but I think I'm okay with that. So I wonder if any of this feels familiar to you. If so, feel free to drop a comment below. If you're still sifting through your own rubble, I won't pretend to have any answers for you, but I can tell you that I'm living proof that change is possible. My story is one of learning to choose people who can be there for me and being able to show up for them in ways that feel safe for both of us. So if you're still not sure that's on the table for you, I get it. But I believe that if you keep doing the right work, progress is possible. So hang in there. Okay, friends, thanks for being here. Until next time, be well.